Hello YouTube, good evening again. Couple of videos just dropped today on the YouTube channel and the gaming channel. Make sure you check those out, like, follow, subscribe. Welcome back to another new Rockstars video. Doing a lot of new Rockstars videos lately. My camera is not right in front of me and I don't like that. But then I'm a bit too far to the... Oh, what I can do actually, 1 second. I can move this a bit this way. Move this a bit this way. Oh, that's much better. Right. Daredevil Born Again trailer breakdown. Because I feel like the trailer, when we watched it yesterday, missed a lot of stuff. I was seeing Luke Cage, mentions about Luke Cage, mentions about the Punisher, and I was like, I don't recall seeing any of these people. So we're watching the trailer breakdown. 23 minutes, nothing too long, just a little sprinkle to the start of the stream. Make sure you, again, like, follow, subscribe, head over to the Twitch, drop a follow there. And let's get straight into it.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Boss.
If there's anyone who hasn't missed a single details in this movie, in this trailer, it'll be him. I trust Eric to do his research and watch it at 0.1% speed throughout the entire thing to make sure he doesn't miss anything.
Trailer for Daredevil Born Again, the new season coming to Disney Plus on March 4th, continuing the storyline from the 3 seasons of the Netflix series from 2014 to 2018, starring Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. The Devil's work is never done, and neither is our work here at New Rockstars, combing through these trailers for all the details that you missed.
Exactly.
And there are some crazy cameos and Easter eggs in here, so let's buckle in. And hey, myself and Jessica Clemens are now officially back on the road to Born Again. We are now returning to our mission to rewatch all of the Daredevil seasons from the Netflix run. Season 1, Season 2, The Defenders, and Season 3. We're going to be breaking down all of them to catch you up before Born Again premieres. We started this rewatch series in 2023. We had to put it on hold, but now we are back, and we got some extended season-by-season breakdowns coming your way, starting with our breakdown of Season 1 coming at the end of this month, and New Rockstars now has a channel membership option. Just hit that join button, and in addition to supporting New Rockstars directly, you will be able to access early ad-free versions of select videos, including these upcoming Daredevil Road to Born Again rewatch breakdowns. So if you want to watch those breakdowns without ad interruptions, just consider supporting us as a member. Let's break down this trailer.
Thank you for finding the time.
What a trailer, man. A very brutal one, to be honest.
It's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
The trailer opens with Daredevil fighting Muse in Muse's workshop. So Muse is from Charles Soule's Daredevil run in 2016. He's a serial killer, an artist inspired a bit by Banksy. He terrifies the people of Hell's Kitchen with garish street art that in some cases uses the blood and remains of the people he has killed. We still don't know who plays Muse on this show. I'm sure we'll find out soon. Muse wears a beanie hat and suspenders as he does in the comics. He doesn't seem to be much of a physical threat to Murdock. I think Murdock is just kind of enraged by the savagery of what Muse has already done. On the walls of Muse's workshop are various paintings that might display his victims and are probably using his blood to render this art. And some of these visuals just kind of remind me of the world on fire that Matt Murdock would perceive in his mind, as he explained to Claire Temple in Season 1. Matt is wearing a new suit in the series compared to where we saw him last. Now, from top to bottom, it is completely red. Later in the trailer, we will see a collection of 5 different suits. I think we need to do a little recap here. Again, in the coming weeks, we'll give a more comprehensive understanding of how we got to this point. But when Daredevil Born Again was first announced as an MCU series on Disney Plus, this was back in summer 2022, while Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio were returning from the Netflix series. Initially, it wasn't clear if this show would connect to the Netflix continuity of the storyline. Based on the little we know about the earlier version of the show, the plan was for it to not connect that much, maybe even retcon Matt Murdock's history a bit. But in September 2023, Marvel Studios decided to do a creative overhaul of the series. They replaced the former head writers with Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who had worked on Moon Knight Knight and Loki Season 2, and the directive
W
was now
shows.
to fully establish these episodes as a clear continuation of the events of Daredevil Season 3 from Netflix. So Season 3 of the Netflix Daredevil series saw Wilson Fisk using Ben Poindexter, a psychopathic former FBI agent with the ability to use any object as a deadly projectile, to masquerade as Daredevil for a time and try to ruin the reputation of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. But when he failed, Fisk broke his back, but Ben's vertebrae were surgically repaired in the season's post-credits scene. But the season ended with a bloody brawl between Murdoch and Fisk in Fisk's home, spattering some red on Fisk's iconic rabbit in a snowstorm painting from season 1, and both Fisk and his wife Vanessa were arrested. But in various MCU titles since, both Murdoch and Fisk have returned. Murdoch returned with an amazing shot in Spider-Man No Way Home of his walking stick entering frame, serving as a defense attorney for Peter Parker.
Legendary
and Happy
reactions
Hogan
in the
as
cinema that day.
DODC prosecuted them for illegal use of Stark technology. Murdoch showed up again in She-Hulk, arguing against Jen Walters in Los Angeles courtroom on the matter of superhero privacy. Daredevil and She-Hulk team up in that episode to fight the villain Leapfrog, and then they hook up, and Matt Murdock did a walk of shame. Murdoch showed up again in the finale after Jen used the Kevin robot to rewrite the reality of her finale, and Daredevil dropped in like a Fortnite character. He showed up at the end of the season at the family barbecue where, remember, Hulk showed off his son Scar with the worst haircut we have seen in the MCU.
I remember that.
Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk surprised us as the big bad of the Hawkeye series, the boss of the Tracksuit Mafia, and Kate Bishop's mother, Eleanor Bishop. That season ended with Fisk's assassin, Maya Lopez, aka Echo, shooting Fisk in the eye, but Fisk survived that and returned to the Echo series with a repaired eye implant using AR technology that allowed his optic nerve to translate ASL. Maya used her ancestral powers to reconnect Fisk to his childhood trauma, recalling
Bro,
Fisk's
I haven't seen
dark
Echo.
origin in the first season of the Netflix series, and maybe providing Wilson some healing. In the post-credit scene of the Echo series showed Fisk flying back to New York City, preparing to gather the heads, and after seeing a news discussion about how New Yorkers really want a fighter in the mayor's office, Fisk decides to run for mayor. Matt meets Wilson face-to-face in this public setting, a diner, and he says,
Thank you for finding the time.
by including this line in the trailer, it almost feels like a meta wink to Marvel Studios for resurrecting this show, but really to the fans for keeping this whole thing alive. Like, thank you for finding the time to keep track of
When's it out?
hundreds
March,
of hours
January,
of Netflix
February,
Marvel
March.
shows, not all of which were great, but
It gives
hey,
me
the
about
Daredevil
2
parts
months
certainly were.
to
We were wondering if this
rewatch
diner might be
Daredevil.
the same diner where Karen and Ben Urich
Probably
met up in
watch-
season 1 of Daredevil.
Okay.
Actually, in the Entertainment Weekly article, Charlie
Oh,
Cox
that's a
described
lot,
this
man.
diner scene as, quote, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. Choice words, referring to the iconic Batman Joker interrogation in The Dark Knight. Remember, Heath Ledger's Joker used these exact same words to describe the two of them.
This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
And that was actually Christopher Nolan referencing the iconic diner scene in Michael Mann's Heat with Pacino and De Niro. All three of these scenes are structurally designed to confront the hero with the villain in a setting where they are unable to beat each other to a pulp and for a moment hear each other out. Cox went on in the Entertainment Weekly article saying there's actually an episode later on in the season where in an original draft, we had a conversation and I brought this up. I said, I worry that if you tell the story that we can have a conversation and walk away from it at this stage, we lose a lot of the stakes. So they found a really cool way to not have us do that. We get a close-up of Fisk's fist as he cracks his knuckles, being sure to show his cufflinks, flare that was a very big deal for the character in the Netflix series, and it's actually how the Hawkeye series initially identified him. Then this long-haired attacker comes at Fisk with an axe. This is a date setting that showed later in the trailer with Fisk and Vanessa, and that painting on the left is that white rabbit in a snowstorm painting that Fisk and Vanessa first bonded over in season 1, and it looks like they kept the blood spatter from that brawl in season 3, symbolizing, in my opinion, this new psychology of Wilson Fisk. He's no longer a rabbit hiding in a snowstorm, hiding in plain sight. He's embracing his reputation as a bloodied fighter. As Fisk sits with Matt at a diner,
As he's
his
always
hand
been.
twitches, and we see a wedding ring. Remember, he tied the knot with Vanessa in season 3, and he wears an American flag lapel pin and a big apple pin right beneath it. As he lowers his fist on the table, they include this big thud to indicate the weight of just his fist. And I think it might be a veiled nod to the Netflix era because remember, the Netflix da-dum sound is actually taken from House of Cards. It's a sound of Frank Underwood knocking his fist twice on the desk.
Interesting detail. I never knew
Time's
that.
passed. By the look of it, you've come up in the world.
I could say the same about you.
A mayor serves his city. I can see you're not entirely convinced.
Can you blame me?
We see New York City blanketed in rain, looking a bit foggy in a way that's both grounded and a bit stylized. It kind of looks like, Matt Reeves' Gotham in the Batman movie, but it's also just how New York often looks, especially from the Hell's Kitchen angle. And this is also how Manhattan looked in the Netflix series, specifically because they would use fog and just where they pointed the camera to avoid ever showing Avengers Tower in the background of any shot. We see Matt and Karen and Foggy, Deborah Ann Woll, and Eldon Henson weren't initially set to return in the series, but they brought them back in the reshoots. Season 3 ended with the three of them establishing the law firm as Nelson, Murdoch, and Page. Fisk says Matt has come up in the world, and he might be referring to his high-profile clients like Peter Parker and his courtroom arguments against She-Hulk in Los Angeles. Matt says that Fisk has also come up in the world, and he's referring to Fisk having already won the mayoral race. The shots in Times Square on New Year's Eve show Wilson Fisk as mayor-elect, and a ton of Easter eggs are here in Times Square. On the left, a billboard
Rogers
for
the Musical?
Rogers the Musical, the
That's the
Avengers
first
themed
thing I
musical
saw.
from the Hawkeye series. The signage inspired by Hamilton. This sign also showed up in Spider-Man No Way Home and in She-Hulk. Weird that they advertise a Broadway show currently running in New York, probably not on tour yet, in Los Angeles, but this is the MCU. Above that is a sign for Harlem's Paradise, the nightclub from Netflix's Luke Cage that was originally operated by the Stokes crime family before falling into the hands of Luke Cage. This is a huge deal because until now, only Daredevil and Punisher were confirmed to be returning from the Netflix world. With this clue, it seems like they might be indicated that Luke Cage could return as well. And we all assume that Jessica Jones is going to show up as well. We all love her. I
love
expect
Jessica
to see any
Jones.
Easter eggs pointing to Danny Rand. And the text of this Harlem's Paradise sign reads, Harlem's Paradise is a place where hip hop, funk, jazz, rock, and roll all come back to the mothership. It's a party, y'all. Y'all, huh? Anybody could be quoted saying this. I'm thinking maybe Miss Minutes visited, or maybe Madison showed up and they got her saying this. I mean, I feel like Madison has gone to every club in New York. She's like Stefan's bestie. To the right of the Rogers the Musical sign is an ad for Pingo Doce, the juice from the Brazilian bottling plant where Edward Norton Bruce Banner worked in the 2008 Incredible Hulk film, and a bottle for Pingo Doce recently appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine, and it might also show up in Captain America Brave New World if that weird Microsoft AD ad with Joaquin Torres is an actual set from the movie. Beneath these, running below the banner for Forever 21 is, of course, a banner for Disney Plus. And then in the upper right is a sign showing Pim Van Dyne. This is a new organization headed up by Hope Van Dyne that we saw in the opening montage of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that led to Hope winning all kinds of humanitarian awards. It looks like Pim Van Dyne might have sponsored the entire New Year's Eve event because you can see tall blue top hats and beanies with this logo worn by gatherers throughout the crowd. Maybe Pim Van Dyne is continuing Tony Stark's mission to run New York City on clean energy. They might be the kind of leading tech company that Mayor Wilson Fisk is leading a campaign against using his own technology. And we gotta say, it's just kind of menacing for the mayor-elect of New York to interrupt the New Year's Eve festivities to project his big old face on the screens. Like, can you imagine Eric Adams doing that? I think Andy Cohen would fire Anderson Cooper out of a cannon at that big screen if that happened. We know how Andy felt about de Blasio. Also, I'm trying to figure out what year this is. Pretty sure it's gonna be 2027 since the MCU timeline tends to stay about 2 years ahead of the real world timeline. All right, let's move on. This job keeps me busy. I don't have a lot of time to spare in my morning routine. Like, yeah, maybe a cucumber mask would help the bags under my eyes, but when am I supposed to do that? Luckily, geology helped me find a morning skincare routine that is quick, easy, and effective. Part of that is
Back to the video.
I can't.
80% off Geology's trial set, or just click the link in the description below.
Can you blame me? I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
Why did you
He
stop
probably
being a
is.
vigilante?
It's Fisk. When is he not?
Crossed.
Wallpaper shot.
All right, we see a street artist, I assume this is Muse, painting graffiti of Wilson Fisk that reflects the duality of the two-facedness of this politician. The word king is on Fisk's jacket with an American dollar bill filling in the letters. So that art is barely peeking out of the jacket of the public persona of Fisk, but on the right is the true Fisk, the dollar bill filling the shirt of a frowning, corrupt Fisk. I feel like even Banksy would say, maybe dial back the symbolism a bit, mate. But this graffiti cross-dissolves into Fisk eating, chewing methodically as we often saw him doing with his daily omelets on the Netflix show. But then we smash cut to who he really is, savagely pounding who I assume is that long-haired attacker. This double-handed King Kong smash that he does is the same thing that he would do to Matt, specifically in season 9, Speak of the Devil. That beating haunted Matt when he was trying to meditate to heal himself. He kept seeing images of Fisk smashing him. Then we see an elevated train passing a construction site, which might be part of Mayor Fisk's renewal pledge to rebuild parts of the city before he formally entered politics. That was part of his media campaign in season 1. And Matt says, I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming gaming the system. And Fisk does not respond to that, but rather changes the subject to ask
Exactly.
Matt when
See?
he stopped being a vigilante.
That's what I'm
but
saying,
how,
'cause
I
he
wonder,
is.
Fisk gaming the system? Has he expanded the tech that he introduced in the Echo series to try to manipulate the media, manipulate reality for everyone in New York? Matt says a line was crossed. And I assume that ethical line wasn't like hooking up with Jen or being a Fortnite drop-in after Kevin warped reality, but rather something that we will see on the series, like Matt accidentally killing someone, because we now see the stylized shot of Matt's scratched Daredevil cowl falling in slow motion toward a crime scene. On the street, you can see that is outside Josie's bar, the bar frequented by Matt and Foggy and Karen, and one of the devil horns from the cowl is missing, making a D shape for Daredevil. But we see blood on the sidewalk, injured or dead people from whatever this was, and an ambulance pulling away. So this could have been a criminal that he accidentally let fall to his death, and now Matt is like throwing away his cowl out of shame for letting that happen. On to the next clip.
It's hard to come to terms with a violent nature. Hating the power it has over us.
I love how this entire trailer is framed based on their conversation as they're talking about all the horrible violence that is happening around them. Fisk says, it's hard to come to terms with our violent nature. And we see Muse carrying a body down train tracks.
What a
based on the silhouette. I'm
voice.
pretty sure that's Muse with his beanie and his boots. Then we see a few guys are beating up Matt in this sparse apartment. And since he's appearing as a lawyer form of Matt Murdock, he doesn't initially defend himself, but the sound of the punching transitions into a heartbeat, which in the Netflix series was how Matt knew when someone was lying or someone was hiding or just waiting to attack. These heartbeats sync with the drops of the blood hitting the floor. Big drop with a smaller drop landing exactly in the middle of it, followed by a smaller drop with a little baby drop landing in the middle of that. Feels like Matt is controlling his own heartbeat, his own blood pressure, clotting his own bleeding as he prepares to fight back. All right, let's move on.
This city can't go unchecked.
Sometimes
Brilliant score as
peace needs
well,
to be
man.
broken.
So Ben Poindexter is being released from prison. You'll notice he has some kind of support device around his waist and arms as he is probably recovering from that surgery that he received in the post-credit scene of season 3. Then some armed robbers in multicolored masks storm this bank. We see 5 of them in this shot: red, yellow, green, purple, and blue. Presumably there would have to be a 6th as a getaway driver. So I'm assuming that one's mask is orange, which would make these colors aligning perfectly with the colors of the 6 Infinity Stones. I know, I am
Oh my
reaching.
God.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was
Quantumania
about to
messed up my
say.
head with those 6 multicolored rock heads in the quantum realm, and many have theorized could be the atomized Infinity Stones. Also in this bank on the left, shamrocks are hanging from the desk, suggesting this is
I was
around
about
St.
to say,
Patty's Day,
bro, is
our drinking Irish Catholics'
reaching.
favorite holiday. So I'm assuming Matt is hungover or has started a pregame. Now, the one with the red mask points a shotgun at Matt, and I'm assuming Matt is recalling his own use of a red mask that he has temporarily stepped away from. Matt walks through a cheering crowd, maybe at Mayor Fisk's victory celebration, because someone is holding up a foam fist Fisk. I like the idea that this could be their version of a Hulk smash fist, like the damage Hulk has done to New York City. Fisk is gonna repair. Like every fist should come with a cufflink. Then we see Matt dancing with Heather Glenn, played by Margarita Levieva, at an event. Heather Glenn is a recurring love interest to Matt Murdock in the comics. Her father is Maxwell Glenn, titan of industry who gets mind controlled by Purple Man, aka Kilgrave. Things don't end great for Maxwell or Heather in the comics, but let's see if this series averts that dark fate. I think we have seen from other footage from the Disney Plus promo a few months back that we broke down that showed Fisk and Vanessa arriving at this same event through these same doors. I think this might be his inaugural ball. Next, we see a gun with a silencer held up by Bullseye. This is the same gun that we saw Bullseye holding in leaked set photos. Then a quick shot of Matt necking with Heather. They really want us to feel like this is going to be R-rated Netflix type of everything on this show. And let's move on.
Chaos.
So it's meant to be R-rated anyway. Yeah.
Mind putting the hatchet down?
Okay, in this section, someone, maybe Ben Poindexter, throws some smoke grenades. One tumbles into a crowded bar. I thought this might be Josie's, but I think it's a different bar because Josie has never had that bright of lighting, and the bar top is on the other
I
side.
knew
of the
I
bar. Next, a
missed it.
close-up of Muse. I love how they made Muse look in this series. He's got oozing red paint around the eye holes, dripping down his cheeks. The eyes themselves, though, are the actor's practical eyes. Fisk and Vanessa toast in front of that bloodied rabbit in a snowstorm painting, and are those full pears on their salad plates? Like, I love a pear slice on a salad, but like a full pear they have to cut into with those tiny plates overloaded with
pears
other veggies
with
and
salads?
fruits. No room to do any fruit surgery. Of course, Fisk is going to be pissed off. Matt runs into John Bernthal coming back as Frank Castle, Punisher.
Yeah,
Yes,
I knew
let's
I
go.
missed
So
him.
Bernthal as Frank Castle was introduced in Daredevil season 2 on
He
Netflix.
looks different
Green,
as well.
His family was murdered, but that crime not properly handled by law enforcement, leading him to become a violent vigilante and a super interesting thematic foil to Daredevil. Matt Murdock served as his defense attorney.
I did it because I liked it. And I loved it.
Punisher got his own spinoff series that went 2 seasons. We last saw Frank Castle ending the villain of season 2, Billy Russo, Jigsaw, and then embracing his Punisher identity with a new skull vest as he mowed down a gang of criminals. And Matt here telling him to put down the hatchet almost feels like a reference to the two of them trying to bury the hatchet. I think they will team up on this series. On to
He
the next
looks
clip.
more bearded and
To
rough.
believe in grace. But I was also raised
Oh,
to believe in retribution.
Okay, outside of New York Mutual Bank, the door explodes. It looks like this is a hostage situation with SWAT teams going in. I think it's the same robbery that we saw earlier with the multicolored mask. Then a quick shot of Michael Gandolfini, son of James Gandolfini, who played young Tony Soprano on The Many Saints of Newark. He's playing Daniel Blade on this show, a new character rumored to be Wilson Fisk's director of communications. We also know that he's going to have some scenes with a character named Bibi Urich, daughter or maybe niece of Ben Urich, the journalist who was killed in the first season of the show. She's probably going to be picking up the torch as like the journalist figure for the New York Bulletin. She's gonna be played by Janaea Walton. And we see a few of Muse's victims suspended by chains, and this is gnarly. I assume their bodies are being drained of blood for Muse to use in his art. Quick shot of Matt smashing the head of the Mind Stone robber, if we were going with the color scheming. And then a new character, Hector Ayala, aka White Tiger. So Hector Ayala was introduced in 1975 as a second Latino superhero in Marvel Comics. Hector is a Puerto Rican student in New York who
I saw the
discovers the
first
3
was, like,
amulets
in the
of the
mall.
Sons of the Tiger that, when worn, turn him into the White Tiger. In the comics, he's often grouped
Is
with
that more
the
Latino?
Avengers characters, Iron Fist, also with Shang-Chi. In this show, he's played by Kamara de los Reyes.
I'm pretty sure
who
the mall
passed
was the
away in
first
past year.
Latino
Then a shot of Cole North, played by Jeremy
character.
Earl, entering the bank. Cole is a modern Daredevil character, a police
Anyway.
detective. In the comics, he was investigating a homicide committed by Daredevil. If Matt did cross the line as a vigilante, as he said to Fisk, maybe it's an event that Cole is investigating. Another piece of what I assume is Muse's artwork showing a blind person screaming while wearing a crown. I assume it's painted in blood, but I think there's a common theme among many of his pieces that show the figures bleeding from the eyes or having their eyes removed. It's basically what his mask is, right? Also on the right, that is a Punisher skull, my friends, but mixed in with some pirate-themed crossbones. Then some twin shots of Matt twirling his baton on a rooftop while Fisk perches on a different rooftop. And then a very quick shot of Muse jamming his tube into one of his victims, maybe to drain the blood. And then Matt opens his
What is
wardrobe
with
to
this
show
guy and
5
draining
masks.
blood?
What is
Jesus.
this? The Michael Keaton Batman and the Flash trailer?
Exactly, that's
love
what I
these 5
said.
masks. I don't know why you would need 5 of them, but I like that there are 5 of them. One is gray, one is red and matte painted, one is gold, one is black that I think could be the Shadowlands look, and then a textured red cowl. The golden cowl was part of his suit that he was wearing in the She-Hulk series. The eyepieces of all 5 of them are red though. I am very much looking forward to the suits that go with each of these. On to the next part. All right, Matt is using his cable extensions from his batons to attack Muse. This intercuts with the moment Matt fights back against the guys in the apartment, and we hear a tiger growl mixed in there. As Matt fights Muse, you can see one of his drained victims lying on the table. And there's so much violence here. Another compound fracture as Matt breaks the arm of one of these attackers in the apartments. So we're seeing both halves of his identity screaming for having to be dragged back into this world on fire. We end with the Daredevil title with the skyline of Hell's Kitchen laid inside of it. And the music for the second half of this trailer, I don't know if you noticed it, is a church organ cover of the Netflix theme music by John Pisano. It is so good. And I think it is a wise move of Marvel Studios or Marvel Television to just embrace everything that we loved from the Netflix era, because it's really the reason why these incarnations of the characters are so popular. I'm so excited for this show. And yes, I am wearing our Daredevil and Punisher inspired Justice and Punishment shirt. It's available at our merch store, nerdright.shop. It's another great way to support Rockstars as we
$30
return
for
to
one
this road to
t-shirt.
Born Again. And starting March 4th, we're going to have so much great Daredevil coverage on New Rockstars and on the Break Room. So please subscribe to all the channels in the New Rockstars Network. Hit that join button to join us as a member. Follow me at EA Voss. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. That's the third new Rockstars videos in a row. I mean, they are good, so I'm not complaining.